you see, I want to put back.
We just visited you to get your thoughts and then your comments on the goings in the country, particularly on the opposition. What would you comment? Recently you came head on, drop a bombshell on opposition in Uganda. What inspired that?
Basically, that article, when one read it, when I talked about Besigye and Bobi Wine, many people who read it, supporters of Besigye were very angry, supporters of Bobi Wine were very angry, but it meant that they did not understand what the article was about. The article was fundamentally telling Ugandans, stop this nonsense that the solution to our country lies in the hands of individuals. To the NRM, it is President Museveni. The opposition, it is either Besigye or Bobi Wine. I can understand, because people are desperate. The poverty situation is very bad. The job situation is horrible. The apparent discrimination is huge. And the anger is almost choking Ugandans, even hatred. In that situation, if we want to help our country, it cannot be a focus on the opposition. It must be a focus on letting President Museveni understand that it is in his interest, it is in our interest, it is in everybody's interest, that he rethinks the concept that it is him who will lead Uganda forward regardless. Because in the end, Uganda will collapse after he is gone. So for somebody like me, who feels very strongly about the unity of our country, its huge potential, which if we had worked with well, we could have been the leading developing country in Africa. Knowing that at independence, Singapore could not touch us, Malaysia could not touch us, and now we can't even think of being anywhere close to them. So my article, for those in the opposition who felt very bad, thank you, because you exposed the anger in this country. But the point and the emphasis that I made in that article is that Uganda needs a rethink, where we sit together as a country, accept that mistakes were made, define where we can go, agree to go together, and then assign responsibilities. That time, if Uganda assigns me the responsibility of sweeping the main street of Kampala, I will gladly do it for the sake of the country.
We all look up to the opposition politicians whenever we have challenges, especially in line with the governance of the country.
Yes.
Do our opposition politicians have what it is required to change our lives or provide an alternative?
Absolutely not. Besigye was in NRM, and then when he stood as Reform Agenda in 2001, some of us, I was DP, others were UPC. Then we came together. And when we came together, I was chair of the platform committee of the Forum for Democratic Change. And the membership of my committee were composed of late Yona Kanyomozi, late Suleiman Kigundu, David Pulukol, and that category of people. We put together the FDC party platform, where we spelled out specifically what needs to be done for the country to reverse the change of the trend of decline, to tap the potential it has, and to move forward. Now, when I became leader of opposition, the president would make his State of the Nation address while opening Parliament. And as leader of opposition, I would make a statement in reply to the president's State of the Nation address. He would talk about, taxation has reached this, we are going to do this. And then I would sit down and look at the statistics, look at the information, and respond. You remember there was an Ogola committee on UP. Because I told him, I said, Mr. President, with these numbers and the schools and the total people you say are now in UPE, the figures don't add up. So somebody is deceiving you. What about the taxation? I did the same thing. When he said, oh, in 2019, oh, the taxation level has reached this much. I called the research department in Parliament because I'm very good, quick with mathematics. I knew the figures were not adding up. I immediately did the thing. When I made my reply, I even had to leave away some of the things. Because in some years, if we use the president's figures going backwards, the economy must have grown by more than 80%. They were really embarrassed. But each time that I talked, I never abused the president. I never posted that we can do it. I'll just say that this is the problem that the country faces. And unless we work together to solve it, we are going nowhere. And looking back from the time I left being in opposition, the country has deteriorated. If they listen to me on agriculture, on education, on nearly everything, things would have been different. Now, the role of the opposition would be to offer alternative policy. And you must know your opponent. President Museveni is a guy who likes belligerence. He's a rebel, by the way. It is like Arsenal trying to beat Man U by playing their game. You cannot win. Play your game. Play it well. And in the end, you will expose Man U as a very weak team. So opposition, please. That empty posturing will not change things. Let us calm down, talk about the facts. There are too many facts to talk about. The roads, my tractor at home here, this week alone, were collected more than 5 times to go and pull people who are coming from Kitgum. They get stuck. This is the tragedy of our country, and it is a real crisis.
Why would you say opposition are just posturing? To them, they are working, and they are working very well.
Oh yeah, but they will say they are working, which is opposition, because we have also to be very clear. DP and UPC cannot claim to be opposition. Because by law, if you're opposition, all your members would be on the opposition side. For DP, their own party president is a minister in government. For UPC, the wife of the party president is in government. Better among Norbert Mao is in government. So, where is opposition then? You ask yourself, where is opposition then?
Maybe they are using your trick, working with the government to solve
No, I never worked with government. I worked with facts. And the other thing was I worked with humility. And that did not allow them to be aggressive towards me. I can tell you in some of those opposition things when the police would want to tear gas people, the officers would come to me and said, Professor, we don't want you here. You leave. Because they would feel embarrassed tear gassing me. Because what I would tell them, I would talk to them like a human being, like a relative, like a neighbor. And they would understand. And I can tell you, Ugandans understand. If the president started talking to us like that and said, but what is your problem really? Do you think the opposition will be behaving the way they are behaving? No. And we have a crisis. So I urge President Museveni to have a second look at how he deals with opposition in Uganda. They are a resource that you don't pay them to be. So, but you can tap their potential and their capacities and help change this country.
So is opposition being very confrontational with the President Museveni, especially FDC led by Besigye and then Bobi Wine?
No, it's not about confrontation. They're not being strategic. Our times when we started FDC, we were very strategic. where police came and wanted us to leave, we'll say, give us 10 minutes, we'll leave. And in that process, people had time to listen to us. And when people listen to facts, they change. Even now, Republicans are going to Kamala Harris in America, because she talks to them like a human being, like a person. And so my heart, the opposition, I mean, like, let me ask, for example, Bobby Wine has been in opposition. First of all, his first leader of opposition was Segona. Now, the new leader of opposition. Has any of them called me to ask how I was, just even to ask how I was, and then to seek my opinion on some of the matters that faced them? They now seem to know everything, and they know very little. If I measure knowing with what I know, they almost know nothing.
So their colleagues are also complaining about them, especially the current leader of opposition, that he doesn't consult them. He makes decisions on his own, probably maybe with some small clique. And now opposition is also getting divided. How did you manage during your reign to hold the opposition together? We never saw this.
Our time, responsibility in Parliament, we split. For example, the Accountabilities Committee, we were aided by members of different parties. In the Committee of Agriculture, for example, our chair was the late John Odid. We made sure that they were not opposition by political victory, but they were opposition by responsibility. And I can tell you that nobody in opposition will say that I ever quarreled with them. Udongoto, if he wanted something, he would come to Gulu on radio and really blast me with very nasty words. And the people would call me and say, "Oh, Udongoto abused me." I said, it's okay. And then I'll wait for him while studying what he wants. Once I understood what he wanted, I'll call him and I said, "Samuel, this one you will not get, so you just do something else." And very calmly, and it made a difference. It made a difference. We had respectability. Nobody could open their mouths on us anyhow. And I can tell you that we influenced President Museveni on many grounds in terms of policy and how he would do things.
So where are they blundering, the current leadership?
You see, the problem now, opposition is about being in parliament and being in party headquarters, and then holding big rallies that will attract the wrath of government. You don't need to do that. When one time we wanted to have a meeting in Kitgum, the police and RDC came to my office, my hotel room, and said, "You're not supposed to meet here." We said, "Who told you? I'm just meeting some people in my hotel room, which I paid for." Then what we did, we said, "Does anybody know where they drink marua?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Here's money. You go and get 3 pots of marua." So we told each member to just walk to the marua place. And we were there, like, drinking marua while we were discussing our things. By the time they woke up that we were meeting, the meeting was finished. I mean, you have to be smart. Bobby Wine is very smart in sleeping from security. That is one strategy. But the intellectual smartness that makes Ugandans believe that, yes, in these hands, the future is bright. We don't see it.
Right now, MPs are moving on with a suggestion that the leader of opposition should actually be elected. What's your comment on this particular issue?
No, in the first place, I was an elected leader of opposition because the Administration of Parliament Amendment Act of 2006 provides for the largest party in opposition, which is the official opposition. Not all other parties are recognized as opposition.
Yeah.
There's an official opposition.
True.
And we insisted that elections take place. I contested with the late Sam Njoba. And I was overwhelmingly voted into office by FDC. Now, after that, Besigye, of course, didn't like it because Sam Njoba was in the reform agenda. And then they fought me all those years, but I outwitted them. They could not remove me. They called the delegates conference to renew leadership. I went to my friends, Uganda, they are my friends. My father-in-law was very close to Ben Kiwanuka. I saw Ben Kiwanuka when I was a small kid. He came to Kalongo. Our place was a DP place. I worked with Semu Gerere. So I just went to Buganda, and when the Katikiru met me with his cabinet, Bale, the chairman of Buganda, called the Buganda guys and said, "Oh, don't touch this man, he's Kabaka's man." When elections came, and they put Reagan Ukumu against me. Besigye was there strolling, thinking he had got me by my testicles. When they started reading results, Mpigi, Latigo 170 something, Reagan 4, Masaka 200 something, tears flowed from the eyes of Besigye. That is the problem.
So, but that was internal. This time now they want to do
after that, the only medicine was now for the party president through the party to appoint. All those positions held by those guys by appointment in law is actually legal, including Senyonyi's now, because he's supposed to be elected. Now, let them forget this issue of electing the opposition, electing the leader of opposition, because there's only one official opposition. That is why that official opposition cannot be in government, because the NRM as a majority forms government. And the largest opposition forms the opposition leadership. So the rest, just learn to live with it. If you want to ally with us, fine. If you want to ally with NRM, go to NRM. So this thing of Lumo is nonsense. Even the courts will not accept it, because it will be contrary to Commonwealth practice. There's nowhere in the Commonwealth where the entire opposition, unless they are in alliance, elects the leader of opposition. It is the official opposition that elects their leader. So let them not waste time on that. But you know, Uganda, people thrive by creating conflict. Now, Lumu, DP, moves that motion, and then the opposition are very angry with each other. And then NRM said, now we are covered. You are not covered. You were naked a long time ago.
Wow. So, when you see this kind of division of issues in their parties, including NRM, the coming of the sun, and so on, what does this point to the country moving towards 2026?
It's going to be a big challenge, because the NRM and President Museveni's regime is like this tree. It's huge, but it will not grow any taller. The roots will not extend any further. Many other trees will grow around here and overwhelm me. But they think they must do any means to remain dominant. No. Natural laws don't allow that. Whether you like it or not, your time will come and you will go. Tell me any leadership in the world, whether Julius Caesar or who, that remained forever. It's not possible. So if you're wise, just learn to work out your exit the day you entered. 2026 is going to be rough, because you saw what happened in Kenya, and Kenyan politics was far more democratic than ours. But this generation Z took to the streets. What are you going to do? Are you going to block them from campaigning? Are you going to block them from stoning you? What are you going to do? By the way, the last election, the president was saved by COVID because he didn't have to go and campaign all over the country. Now, if there's no major disease, he will have to move all over the country. And I can assure you, he will face the wrath of Ugandans. These young people are angry. And they've refused to understand. That's what we say in Luo, Ukwaronyang. They've refused to understand, even if you talk logic to them, they've refused to understand, period.
But there is a PDM given to every parish.
Where is the money now? You go and ask those who received it to show you the cent of that money and the outcome of that money. It is not there.
Or he's going to use his son, who is a young person who can penetrate the young people as well.
But the young people are already leading the opposition, so what is going to happen? What is going to happen? Even within NRM, there are people who will say, why your son? Why not my son? So we are facing a very big challenge in this country. And that is why I keep talking. And I'm used to being labeled. Oh, this guy has been bought or what. If I want something from government, that thing is Ugandan. If I want a tractor, why not? I will ask for it. Because I'm a farmer. Look at these rice fields. Where do you get it? I come here in the morning. And I go home in the afternoon, sometimes 4 o'clock, too tired even to shower. Because I know that the country must eat. Our land must be utilized. So, I again say, Mr. President, don't ignore the voices of some of us. We mean well for Uganda. We mean well for you. If you listen to some of us and you do the right thing, this country can still recover and move on.
So what is this you're telling him?
To look around him and talk to Ugandans honestly. Let's have a dialogue. If you don't want to be part of it, allow that dialogue fully facilitated and commit yourself to accepting the outcome of the dialogue as one of the cardinal attempts to solve the challenge that Uganda is now facing.
But the dialogue is happening in the iPod.
No, iPod meetings are not taking place. And besides iPod, it's now, look, iPod, a lot of that meeting are party leaders. You look at from Parliament, look at those guys in Parliament. Even within my party, FDC, if you ask me how many of the MPs I know, I'll tell you I almost don't know any. Because in the first place, most of them are too young. Secondly, most of them have done nothing of significance to make me know that so-and-so is from here. When you are a very distinguished, outstanding person, you get to be known regardless of your age. And thirdly, their politics is village politics. For example, this meeting in the north and the regional meetings. If I was the leader of opposition and the parliament was normal, we would say instead of having regional parliamentary meetings, let us have regional consultative meetings where we sponsor parliamentarians from the Greater North to go and hear from leaders of the Greater North, define their challenges, document them, and then we'll come back to Parliament and we'll give each of the regions maybe a week of debate, and then we take this resolution and give to government. That money would have done incredible things. But they want to, at the end of it, you see some of my MPs who are crooks dancing next to the speaker. But if they want votes, you'll talk about, oh, they are taking our land. But if you ask, what have you done with the land? Nothing.
So to you, the regional meeting that took place in the north has no significance completely?
No. Because if the regional MPs were the ones who largely presented their issues, were issues from the West presented there? They were not. So why do you have to have the whole parliament here? Why don't you sit down, let the MPs from the north, greater north, from Karamoja to West Nile, sit down with LC5, RDCs, women councillors, youth councillors, all these categories. Have one week of serious meeting. Call Professor Latigo to present a paper on agriculture and the challenges that face the North. Concrete, solid papers. And you discuss those papers. And out of those papers, you bring out the issues, you bring out the possible solution, and you have your resolution. When you take it there, it will work. You know what happened during the war, just after the Balonyo massacre? I had talked about the situation in IDP camps in the north. And I did a projection. And you'll see lines of jerrycans from here up to the other tree. Now the donors, when they saw that, because the select committee that was led by Honorable Alaso, we even came through Balonyo and tension was still there. But when we took those pictures, when we were giving our reports, the diplomatic community came, we made projections, they saw, you know, almost miles of jerrycans, women struggling the whole day for water. They brought piped waters in all the IDP camps, solar powered. And it changed the lives of our mothers and young girls. It changed the life of children because they had water to wash themselves and they were clean. Now these are the kind of things that count. Yes, you're in opposition, but do something as you work in opposition. That must you see on top of the mountain. I asked President Museveni in 2002 for MTN network per day in a meeting that we were at in Baraleke, and immediately told the General Mbadi now, he was able to come, that call MTN. And he picked the phone and he said, I want a mast in per day in 2 weeks. And there was a mast in per day, and then we connected it to Kalong. And I was opposition.
But right now, if you're opposition, you're not supposed to go where the president is. If you go, they say you're a mob.
That one didn't even, that was a general meeting where they called members of parliament from Langwen actually. And we went. Imad Cecilia, late Imad Cecilia, actually was the one who led us. And there are times when you have that kind of meeting, you leave your party issues out and you talk about your people. And in the end, when you bring progress to them, they're happy. KTI, I brought. There are too many things. Kalong Town Council, it was a town board, they killed it. I brought it back. Power line, I brought it. So it is beyond being in a party. It is also being competent to be in a party that will deliver to the people. Otherwise, you can all be in that party and the party will deliver nothing to people.
Thank you very much, Baraba. Unless if you have something to add, we can end.
No, I'm just grateful that the country finds a need to hear from some of us, and they send journalists. UBC sends journalists like you up to Kalongo so that the country can hear from the elders. And I thank UBC for the opportunity. I thank you for the sacrifice of bearing out difficult roads to come and interview me. Thank you very much.
So maybe lastly, before you go, you seem to have been punching both sides, government and as well as the opposition.
Yes.
What do these both sides, what do they need to do so that at least we can have a better, peaceful...
They should stop. It is not about themselves. Both sides is about us. when the Prime Minister of Malaysia died, the son made an address, and I watched it, and I wrote the president, and this blatant abuse of NADS. And I said, what made me write was the message of the Malaysian Prime Minister who took over from the father. He said, for his father, the issue of Malaysia was not about him. It was about all of us. And so I'm punching both sides, because the issue of Uganda is not about Museveni alone or NRM alone, or about what is not in FDC or with FDC or NUP or DP or UPC. It is about all of us. And so unless you slap all these guys, you will be talking to the walls.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.